I'm Mr. Steve, and this is going to be an overview for the bevel joints add-on. There's now going to be one add-on for all versions of Blender. Let's jump right in. This is the bevel joints add-on as is in Blender 5.2 LTS. And this is the version we're going to be working with right now. And you'll see we have bevel legacy controls here. You can unveil all of the previous stuff that was in bevel joints original add-on, plus the extras like the weld, the edge attribute, and the mesh normals. And if we're over in Blender 5.1, which was one of the earlier releases as well, then you're going to see the bevel joints expanded here for the legacy, and the Blender 5 controls will not be there. You'll just get a little message here that says controls only for that area. You will get the extra joint operations because that is always included. And I've prepared a little example here. So in Blender 5.2, I'll show you how to properly use the add-on to get not only the most out of it, but the most speed. Now we do like intersections here. And if by chance this is not intersecting the mesh completely, what we are doing here is we are creating a boolean, and we still have to adhere to some of the rules of a boolean because that's just the way it is. We also are creating a bevel, and we're cutting away all of this geometry, so we want to adhere to those rules as much as possible, but the new mesh bevel node does let us break some of those rules. Let's just / out, and we'll take a look at this. Switch that to object so we don't see any materials. And you want to make the object you want to be able to move the active object. You just shift and click and you'll have that. So what we do is we generate bevel v2. Now, one thing I would not do is don't add your materials yet. Don't turn on self-intersection or hole tolerant. Is that our bevel is actually forming, is working on a curved surface. Now, in order to get that curved surface to fully function, because it's only working in certain places, this is the secret weapon, and this is why bevel joints excels in this area. The secondary bevel will give you not only a hard and normal, but it will give inner and outer edge boundaries around your bevel. So we can add, say, some extra segments to this, and then you'll be able to have the bevel the way you would want it. You can change the width, of course, with the clamp overlap off. With it on, you won't get all the funky overlaps. Probably 9 out of 10 times you won't have to make any other adjustments except turn on clamp. But just for now, I want to show you kind of like what's going on. We are putting a bevel on an edge, and we are creating a boolean. So this is manifold. This is creating a nice manifold setup here. So what we will want to do is check out how the secondary bevel works. There is a secondary width threshold. I wouldn't change it from here because it's not designed for that. This is designed to give you support loops so that you can have a bevel in those other areas. Now you'll have segments for the secondary, and if we move our segments to a single segment, which makes us a chamfer, then you'll see why this is starting to make more sense all of a sudden. Now you've got these nice support loops. You could literally just do one of these and have a nice bevel. Excuse me, we'll just add a little bit more geometry here. You probably don't want to put like 2 or more. It's different in every use case. That's why it's super important that there's extra controls here. So what we will be able to do now is jump into wireframe, and I want you to kind of see what's going on. We can take this off and we can move it anywhere, and it's going to boolean basically anywhere and create a bevel on those 2 areas. So now you've kind of got a bridge edge loops going on, which I think is super cool, and it's just a byproduct of the secondary bevel edge loops. And of course, if you have, say, bad geometry here, obviously, like I said, so ultimately what we want to do is be able to join 2 objects together, and being able to do that in a way that creates a nice manifold join is exactly what bevel joints is for. And I like clamp overlap on because you can see instantaneously we've got our bevel. What we're going to do though is we're going to jump into look dev here, and you can see a single thing. So let's turn that off. And you've got materials built in. These are just for prototyping. These UVs and everything are not necessarily what you may want to use. You can if you want. I've got the bevel material as well, and so we can unwrap all of that. You can also remove these and say go ahead and add your material in. We'll put the anodized on here, and then for this one I'll go for a different color. I think the metal paint here, which is blue, will be a nice representation. And so now you've got this nice procedural bevel where you can just put this thing anywhere you want. Like I said, 9 out of 10 times this is going to work anywhere you put it on a hard surface setup, and it does work here very nicely. I do see just a little bit of funkiness there, but I mean, weighted normals may clear that up, it may not. The self intersection, which is going to really bog down the system, so you want to turn that on towards the end, and the hole tolerant. And I'm going to go ahead and remove the materials for now, so this moves faster, because obviously we're unwrapping procedural material with the mesh wheel and do that. So ultimately this is going to end up being placement. You see this just tiny adjustment that I made. You don't know what the geometry looks like in this area, but you can turn on the show wireframe right here and have a look. We were just on a cross section, right? So now it cleared up. And what you can see here is how this is going to adhere. So you can turn on wireframe to properly place it. And like I said, 9 out of 10 times it should work just fine for you. Now you can also change the shape. So between 0 and 1, there's a setting. Obviously, the same exact way you would get it in the actual bevel modifier. We turn off the show wireframe here and turn on show cavity so you can kind of see what it looks like. And if you do change that, you want to make some adjustments to the secondary bevel, or just turn it off, because you really don't need the secondary bevel at that point to get that profile shape right there. So we go all the way to 1, and then we'll have that profile shape as well. And anytime, if you want, you can just reset to default value, because I've got all these saved in their optimal position for beveling. And so this will put it back to 0.5. And of course, this is with the secondary bevel off, but with the secondary bevel on, it answers that shading issue right there, like I said, in most cases. And here's a little trick. If you want the base and the bevel to be the same, then you just grab the same material and go ahead and load it in for both. And now I've got the main body, and then I'll go ahead and load in the bevel. And now we've got this unique join, which is procedural. You can test it out and do whatever you want to do. And if you don't have that main object selected, you won't see the controls, just so you know. So I was turning on wireframe for something else, but yeah, so now you can kind of see what's going on. And if I go ahead and hide that object behind there, because we didn't bevel that object, no big deal, but you could do that still. We didn't bevel to this object either. Actually, you know what, just for the fun of it, I'll show you the controls, and then we'll go over everything else in the legacy. I'll show you how you can actually do this. It's actually very simple. So you come here and you would remove that, and I'll press Alt-H to unhide it. I want to grab that object, and I think this object. And so now all these have been highlighted, and then I can grab this one. It's going to grab them and put them into a collection automatically. And in the old school bevel joints, you had to load this, but this loads on its own now. So it'll create a collection and give you a whole different geometry node group. So once we click this, obviously there's a lot going on right there, so it may take a second, but now you've got your bevel on all those objects at one time. And I almost forgot to mention that. So, and we didn't include this one. You could have included this one too. I won't go back and do all that, but there you go, guys. And like I said, that is clean cutting away. And you've got a nice manifold cutaway inside. And so this is the inside of the cube, if you will. And it's just cutting away, giving us a nice, beautiful bevel, minus the one object right there. And before we leave this and go to the legacy controls, we can see we are on an edge right here. So you would just press G and Y, maybe whatever makes sense in your setup, and then move this over a touch, and that's going to change that so you don't have that shading error anymore. Like I said, it's placement. We're going to follow most of the rules with bevels and booleans, but we don't have to follow all of them. All right, guys, time for my favorite part, which is the destructive workflow. And you can combine the destructive and the non-destructive workflows. I'll show you how to do it. And I want to take just a moment for you to see something here, because in geometry nodes, things can really get messy. You may need to reposition things, all this and that. And the node navigator can do a number of things. It can arrange your nodes, but if you don't want it to arrange them, it can do it in like a linear fashion, and then it'll stack them in frames for you. Or you can just say, hey, I want to reset these reroutes, and it's going to clean up all your reroutes for you. And let's just say by chance you go and move something like this. You can just click set reroutes again, and it's going to reset everything. You got some extra stuff here. Actually, I don't even have to do it that way. I can just say remove all reroutes to clean everything up, and then click it. And now that looks a lot better. It's something you can actually follow. If these lines are too close for you, also, you will be able to remove all the reroutes. Let's put the offset up and the route clearance up. You can just kind of play with this and click set reroutes, and it will space them out even more around the nodes and stuff so you can see what's going on. The node navigator will do a number of things like find all your inputs and all your outputs. And if you want, you can click show nodes. It'll grab every single node, or you can say you only want to go to a certain frame, like the Boolean edge frame, and it's going to only have certain things in here, like your reroutes, whatever. You just want to find anything that's in there. And then if we go to geometry, we'll see, oh, here's all this other stuff. We can go find these nodes. Here's that not Boolean right here. Yeah, in the pack UV islands. Oh, God, that's hard to find sometimes. Boom, there it is. And yeah, you can pick that up on Standard Market. There will be a link in the description. Now, before we get into the legacy controls real quick, this is a curve, and then we've got our main mesh. This does work on curves, so you can do your generate bevel here. And obviously, I've got a little bit higher resolution on this curve, so you'll see that it works most places. And if you want to fix things like that, number one, we do have some shading issues here. This is where a weighted normal will come in, and we can go ahead and turn that on and remove about 99% of those shading errors. And the ability to clean things up is super important. So looking at this, we're like, oh no, it's broken. Well, not really. Just hit the remove button, okay? Because the geometry is, well, booleans are geometry hungry. So we'll go back over to the curve, and we're going to put 32 as the resolution, grab our object, and then generate bevel v2 again. Now what's going to happen is it's going to start this over for us. Make a nice join. We can add our weighted normals to do our final cleanup here, and then we're really not messing with anything else. And like I said previously, if you do have anything else here, it's just being a problem because there's a slight overlap, and it's just placement. And also the width, 0.005, just go in there and change your bevel to something a lot smaller, and all of your woes and problems are gone, and you've got a beautiful manifold join that is procedural. So, and once you've got it set, you know, you may have an issue with your mesh otherwise if you move it, but once you've got it set, you're good to go. All right, now let's tackle the bevel joints legacy. And I did make an update in the middle of this because I saw something I didn't like. I wanted to be able to show some of these properties without, say, the node group active for the bevel v2. So now you'll see some extra controls you can use, and I just tightened up the UI so it's compact until you need it. Now, selected objects can join to other objects and create a manifold object. So what we're going to do is grab all these. We're going to open bevel joints legacy. And you used to have the teardropper like you do up here, which is just nostalgic for two objects. If you generate the bevel v2, you'll have this. It auto loads it. But if you don't have that, then you know you could conceptually do that way. So anyways, what I want to do, I'll just remove all that, is grab the selected objects, grab the target main, okay, And then what you'll do is you'll just come over here and click Join an Active Seam. You can click this button to see what edges are active, but once we do this, then you press that button, you'll see exactly what has been selected as active. Now, what did that do? Let's go in and take a look inside the mesh, because what it did is it created the same thing. Bevel joints does the same thing all the way around. It's either destructive or non-destructive depending on what you want. This operator is pretty powerful. It will work nicely. You'll be able to add your auto smooth, add your weighted normals if you need to. And I do notice that sometimes this operation is not as clean as I would like it to be. I can revert that. And remember, all these things are geometry hungry. So if you don't have these subdivisions on here, then you'll end up with a problem. So you join an active seam, give it a moment. On complex meshes, it may take a little longer. And as you can see, that actually ends up being a lot cleaner. And then you'll have these edges active. You can bevel them with Control B. You can go to the edge menu and press F, well, my edge menu, and you can add an edge attribute. And then there'll be a bevel right there on all of that. So now you'll be able to kind of change how it looks. And if we go over to the properties panel, you'll see it added an edge weight for you, and you can add any number of edge weight values here. So if we say select this one as active, go back to object, press F and add an edge attribute, you're now being able to stack your bevels in a way that makes sense to you, anything you want to do. And then we're just going to add another edge attribute here, and they can all be completely different. So that's going to work out nice. And in some cases, when this does make a join, maybe you can't make a bevel there. So you can actually revert that back and do something a little bit different if you want. I will say that, let me delete one of these, not that one. And we'll delete that. On flat surfaces, once again, it's the king of joins. So on other surfaces, maybe not so much. And then you can bevel that out. This is where the edge attribute would come in nicely. And you'll see how much nicer this looks. Obviously on cross geometry, it's just not designed for that. The Bevel V2 node will do more of that for you. That's another reason for the big upgrade here. And so I can kind of go in and press F and change that. So it's a very nice looking bevel. Hardened normals right here. And very good. And it is my goal to be 100% transparent with everybody about the capabilities of the add-ons, so you're not buying this thing if it's not going to fit into your workflow. Now, the weld seam is something I like a lot. You can grab two objects, your main object, your active object, whatever, will take the node group, and you can click weld seam. And what that's going to do is that's going to join those objects through geometry nodes and put a weld seam there. So once that's done, it will do that, and it'll give it a UV unwrap as well. Okay, so now we've got our join here. I'm going to jump back into object. It just throws you into that mode so you can see what's going on. And if we go inside the mesh, we'll see this is a destructive workflow. It's very clean though. You'll be able to join objects, and I didn't increase the geometry here, so it does look that way, but you can always revert that, go in, add your geo, come back out, and then join those and weld them. And then of course it will tighten that up for you a good bit, and that looks nice. And you'll have a number of controls to adjust this before you do the weld. Be warned, if you do a custom weld, it's going to really bog your system down if you start making all these things wild. However, before you do that, let's just revert. Before you do that, you can close all this and go to the extras. This is prototyping. This is what this add-on is all about. It's all about prototyping. So we go grab these two and we click GeoNode Weld right here. And then we'll just select our, not the self object. We'll select this object. And what it's going to do is give us a procedural weld. So now you don't have to actually have that object necessarily adhere specifically to one place. And you can change your weld, and this is where you'll have all of your scale controls. You can kind of practice, if you will, how this looks. And if we go into EV Engine here, you will see for the weld edge here, we'll have the curved material. This is going to be UV unwrapped. Like I said, it's already going to be UV unwrapped for you. You will have the scale, the detail, the X and Y. And let me move this in so it's extremely visible so you can see exactly what's happening. And you can change your UVs right here on the X and Y to whatever makes sense for you. Now the input geometry, you'll have an input geo, and I would suggest you use those up until the point where you want to figure out your own mesh. And if we go in this shader editor, you can change all of these things. And if I go to the curved material here, this is going to be using UV, but you also have Boolean curve, which you can use as an attribute. If I go to the input geo right here, this is going to be using the input geo attribute, and you'll have the parent attribute name here for the main geometry, and you'll have the curve attribute geometry right here as well. So if there's no UV map, it's going to unwrap and look terrible. So, but the curve always unwraps. Then of course you can change the attribute name to anything you want. And so if I was to say, hey, that's not what that is, it's actually UV map, capital M, and hit enter, it's going to give a proper unwrap to that. So you're good to go. And this is just pointing to the actual geometry nodes themselves. So you can use the UV map that comes with it or whatever works best, like I said. And this is completely procedural. And then however you unwrap your other object is completely up to you. And this is also doing a cutaway inside the mesh so you don't have a bunch of extra geometry. Now I just want to tell everybody how much I appreciate you guys picking up my add-ons, supporting me, jumping in the Discord, telling me what you do and don't like, giving me the opportunity to fix add-ons or add features that are really important to you. Those 5-star reviews on Blender Market and Gumroad go a million miles for other people to say they do or don't like the add-ons. So I really appreciate it. But before you do anything less than 5 stars, please give me the opportunity to fix the add-on if you found an error that popped up. Blender has a lot of breaking changes. Sometimes things can hide even with all of the checks and balances that I put into the add-on. Catch you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. I'm Mr. Steve, and the Bevel Joints add-on is waiting for you.